Rodie Blagg lives in Sydney with her husband Dustin and two small daughters, Grace and Keris. In her free time, she writes an honest blog about the challenges of modern motherhood and all the issues that come with it. She drinks an alarming amount of tea.
I had my first taste of actual blogging when I went backpacking at the grand old age of 29. In my blog, Catherine's Amazing Adventure, I planned to document my journey, observations of cultural differences, and detailed descriptions of the postcard perfect places I visited. I had a ball on my travels, and despite the fact that I knew my mum was reading, my little blog turned into a weekly roundup of drunken escapades and romantic liaisons. It was a great way to share, and sometimes overshare, news from my trip, and it gave me my first taste of blogging. When I got back to London, one of my friends asked if I'd keep blogging. No, I said, what on earth would I write about? And that was that for a while. My life changed dramatically over the next few months. I saved my arse off, working day and night, 9 to 5, training lawyers how to be nice, and 7 till midnight pouring pints. I gave up my flat and relied on the generous nature of my friends who took turns in putting me up. I believe it's known as sofa surfing, which makes it sound much more fun than it actually is. I made my way back to Australia, arriving in Sydney on Christmas Day 2007. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a job. I was 6 weeks away from turning 30, and despite all my bravado, I was quietly shitting myself. It was supposed to be a year-long holiday, but life had other plans. I met my husband, Dustin, in March. We were living together by August, and by the end of the year, I was pregnant. My friends and family back in the UK were a little shocked. They honestly believed I'd only be gone for a year. At 32, I found myself at home with a baby, sleep-deprived, overwhelmed, and with little to no idea what I was doing. Seemed like the perfect time to start a blog, and so I did. It was called Lamb About Town, the lamb being the affectionate nickname I'd given my daughter. I spent a good few hours faffing about on Blogger, loading images and choosing the perfect font. It was all so exhausting I had to go straight to bed. I didn't open it again for a while. In fact, I forgot all about it. It wasn't I didn't have things to say, I was just too bloody tired. 18 months later, I found myself at home with a feisty toddler and a cranky baby. I was more sleep-deprived than ever before. I had no time to myself and no life outside my children. Each day was a frantic juggling act. I had more plates in the air than... Well, let's just say I had a lot of plates in the air. It wasn't the ideal to start a blog, but the overwhelming need to do something for myself took over. I remember the day I wrote my first post. I was busy cleaning the house while my husband took the girls to the park. As I scrubbed and mopped and vacuumed, I fumed. This is my alone time, this is my break. And out of nowhere, the very first line of my very first post popped into my head. It made me smile. I put down the vacuum, I made myself a cup of tea, sat down with my laptop and started typing. My husband and I frequently bicker about who is more tired, me, who has the toughest job, me, and who has the least amount of downtime, me. I know it's not cool to laugh at your own jokes, but I'm not cool, so it's okay. I made myself chuckle, and I hoped I'd make other mums laugh too. I remember the trepidation I felt as I hit the publish button, and the pride. I felt like I'd actually achieved something. Okay, it was something small, a mere 500 words. It wasn't anything new or clever or thought-provoking. It was just a snapshot of my life as it was at the time. It talked of my frustrations, my joy, and my one desire, to go for a poo by myself. I got good feedback from my friends and friends of friends. I continued my little blog, a couple of posts a month. It was a hobby, something for myself, an outlet. I had no idea how to build an audience. In February last year, we moved from Alexandria in the inner west to North Parramatta in the outer west, or out west as I kept telling people. It was a big change for all of us. In Alexandria, I was part of a big network, part of the community. I knew all the mums, there was always someone to chat to. I thought that it would be easy to connect to my new community, but it wasn't, and not through lack of trying. The first few months were very lonely. I turned to my blog. I wrote more frequently. I took the monumental step of joining Twitter. It was monumental to me, anyway. Twitter was terrifying. I didn't get it at all. I found it overwhelming, and for a while, I merely lurked. But slowly, I got the hang of it. I discovered blog hops. I started making connections. My blog grew. My blog gives me a purpose outside of the home. It gives structure to my week. It gives me something to talk about when all my friends start talking about work. It gives me an opportunity to see the funny side of things, like when Grace bolted out of the Target changing rooms, leaving me with no choice but to follow her in my underwear into the store. It's a place to moan about my noisy neighbours, but please God they never read it, and to share family milestones. My mum recently asked me why I called it a cup of tea in a blog, and I explained that in the early years of motherhood, I liked to sit down with a cuppa and read parenting blogs. It was 5 minutes to have a giggle or a cry, 5 minutes to know that other people felt the way that I felt. I went on to summarise, as a way to unwind, I sit down with a cup of tea and a blog. But if I'm really being honest, I'd rather have a large gin and a shag. She replied, "Yes, dear, we all would." Thank you.